Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something pretty major today, especially for those of you in Nevada.
Yeah,
President-elect Trump's plan for mass deportation.
right.
We're going to be looking at what could happen, the good, the bad,
Yeah,
the whole shebang,
it's a big one.
based on this article from the Nevada Current.
Absolutely.
So strap yourselves in because we're talking about potentially millions of undocumented immigrants being removed from the U.S.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking, and the article really dives into it. I mean, Trump himself even said getting them out will be a bloody story.
So no mincing words there.
Definitely not.
And when you think about it, just in Nevada, that could be 189,000 people deported.
Yeah,
That's like the entire population of Reno just gone.
it's hard to even fathom.
Yeah, you can't even picture it.
Yeah.
And what really got to me was the impact on families,
Of course.
especially those with mixed immigration status.
That's one of the things the article highlights really well, this anxiety.
Right.
You know, imagine living with that fear. Absolutely.
Like at any moment, your family could be torn apart.
It's a very real human element to this.
Absolutely.
And it made me think about the economic side, too.
Right.
Nevada really relies on a lot of undocumented workers, especially in construction, hospitality, agriculture.
Oh, for sure.
The Nevada Current actually points out that Nevada has the highest percentage of undocumented workers in the whole U.S.
Is that right?
9% of the workforce.
Wow, that's a significant number.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's almost like this hidden foundation of Nevada's economy.
Yeah, the backbone.
Yeah, and the article really digs into what happens if that's suddenly ripped away.
It doesn't shy away from the potential fallout at all.
No. And I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
We could lose almost a quarter of construction workers, 13% in hospitality.
Yeah.
Even your landscaping and groundskeeping.
Right.
Almost half of those workers could be gone.
Yeah, and they quote Michael Kagan, the director of the UNLV Immigration Clinic.
And his words are pretty stark, he said. The devastation to the Nevada economy and to Nevada's families and communities is something that I don't think anyone alive has any lived experience to calculate to understand.
Wow, that's pretty heavy.
It really is.
It's almost like trying to imagine what it would be like to live on Mars.
Right.
We have no frame of reference for that kind of disruption.
No, none at all. And it's not just the undocumented workers themselves.
No.
The article talks about how many U.S.-born citizens could lose their jobs, too.
Oh, yeah.
People who work for businesses owned by undocumented immigrants or in those industries that rely on them.
Like this ripple effect.
Exactly, a ripple effect. You drop a pebble in a pond and the impact just spreads out.
Domino effect. And then there's the families again.
Of course.
The article highlights Ted Papageorge from the Culinary Union.
Okay.
He represents 60,000 workers, many in mixed status families.
Wow.
And he says it's their family members, their neighbors, their friends. It's not just numbers we're talking about here.
No, absolutely not real people.
It's people's lives, and it goes beyond just the jobs. You know, think about the whole state budget, things like sales tax revenue.
Right.
If a big chunk of the population is suddenly gone,
That's a massive hit.
it's like a chain reaction.
Absolutely.
And it goes beyond Nevada, too.
Yeah.
The economic consequences nationally,
Right.
mass deportation could cost a crazy amount.
How much are we talking?
We're talking like $315 billion just for the initial operation.
Oh, wow.
And then another $88 billion every year to keep it going.
It's like adding a whole other department to the government.
I know. It's insane. And where's all that money going to come from?
Well, the article points out that a lot of it could actually end up coming from you and me.
Really?
Because undocumented immigrants right now, they pay almost $47 billion in federal income taxes every year.
Okay.
Plus billions more into Social Security and Medicare.
Oh, wow.
So if they're gone, that's a massive hole in the budget. And guess who might have to fill it?
Yikes. I don't even want to think about that.
Right.
That's taking a big bite out of all the services we rely on.
Absolutely.
This is getting more and more complex the deeper we go.
It is.
It's not just sending people back.
It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And speaking of complex, there's the whole logistics of actually doing this.
Right.
It's a massive undertaking. The article actually breaks it down like a 4-step process. You know, like first you got to identify who's undocumented.
Okay.
Then you got to locate them. Then apprehend them, which is a whole other thing.
Right.
And then finally there's the legal process to actually deport them.
Oh, yeah.
It's a massive bureaucratic undertaking.
It sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It is, and it really makes you wonder, like, where are they going to put all these people?
That's what I was thinking. The article mentions that ICE detention centers
Right.
only have about 41,000 beds.
Yeah.
That's barely a scratch on the millions we're talking about.
It's a drop in the bucket, and you think about the human cost, too.
Yeah.
Keeping people detained indefinitely.
It's a whole ethical can of worms.
It is, and the article even suggests that Trump might invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807.
Really?
To use the National Guard, maybe even the military, to help with deportations.
Wow, that's a whole other level.
It is, and it really makes you think, how much resistance might he face?
Oh, yeah, because the article mentions
Right.
some states are already pushing back, like
Yeah.
Democratic Governors Maura Healey in Massachusetts.
Right.
They've said they won't cooperate.
Absolutely.
It feels like we're headed for a legal showdown between states and the federal government.
It's definitely a possibility, and the article brings up these really interesting perspectives on how all this might shake out,
Okay.
Like Michael Kagan, remember him?
Yeah.
He compares it to this, big, heavy train that starts off going extremely slowly but then accelerates.
Oh, wow.
So even if it starts slow, that momentum could just become unstoppable.
That's a very vivid image.
It is. And then you have someone like Alfonso Lopez from the Sheet Metal Workers Local 88.
So
And he doesn't think Trump can actually pull it off.
interesting.
He says the economic damage would be so bad that it goes against,
Right.
everything Trump promised during his campaign.
It's like this weird paradox.
It is like he wants to boost the economy,
Yeah.
but deporting millions of workers could have the exact opposite effect.
Totally. And it brings up another big question.
What's that?
Who exactly are they going to target?
That's the million-dollar question.
You always hear it'll just be criminals.
Right.
But the article kind of challenges that.
Yeah, they say, look, Kagan argues that undocumented immigrants with criminal records,
Okay.
they're already being deported under current policy.
All right. So they're already doing that.
Exactly. So if Trump wants to deport millions,
Yeah.
he's going to have to cast a much wider net.
So it's not just criminals.
No. And they actually quote Tom Homan, Trump's pick for border czar. Okay.
Who said no one should be off the table.
Wow.
And that includes DACA recipients,
Oh, wow.
the young people brought here as kids,
Right.
and people with temporary protected status
Okay.
who are here legally because of unrest or disasters in their home countries.
Right.
So it really widens the scope.
It's not just about, the quote-unquote bad guys anymore.
No, it could be anyone without the right papers.
And that takes us right back to that human cost.
Of course.
What happens to families when a parent, a breadwinner, is suddenly deported?
It's huge. And the article mentions how deporting even one person can drastically reduce a family's income.
It's going to be devastating.
It is. And think about the kids in those families, the
Yeah.
emotional stress, the financial instability.
Right.
It's just a recipe for hardship.
Absolutely. And the article even brings up the fact that
Yeah.
Las Vegas Metro Police have this policy
Oh,
of
right.
not enforcing immigration violations.
But under Sheriff Lombardo, they've also cooperated with ICE in the past, even deporting people who weren't violent offenders.
Wow. So it's kind of,
Yeah, it's like, what are they going to do this time?
it's confusing.
Yeah, it's hard to know. And, it puts local law enforcement in this tough spot.
It does.
They're caught between their own policies,
Yeah.
community pressure,
Right.
and, potential funding cuts from the feds if they don't cooperate with ICE.
It's a real dilemma.
Yeah, for sure. A very complicated situation. Yeah. The article also mentions the Latin Chamber of Commerce
Okay.
and their push for comprehensive immigration reform.
Yeah. What are they saying?
Well, the president, Peter Guzman, argues that we need a more humane system
Okay.
where immigrants can contribute without this constant fear of being uprooted.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and it's not just the Latin Chamber speaking out.
Oh, yeah.
The article highlights the sheet metal workers, Local 88,
Okay.
who are worried about the impact on the construction industry
Right.
if they lose a big chunk of their workforce.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It seems like more and more people are realizing that this isn't just some political game.
Real.
This is real life.
Absolutely. It's a deeply personal issue that touches everything.
Yeah, it really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
It does.
What if this was your family,
Exactly.
your neighbor, your coworker, your friend,
Right?
suddenly gone?
It's a chilling thought.
It is. And, even with all this uncertainty and potential chaos,
Yeah.
the article ends with this really strong statement
Okay.
from Trump's Nevada communications director.
Right.
He says Trump will deliver
Wow.
on his promise to deport undocumented immigrants.
So no backing down.
It seems like he's doubling down.
Yeah.
Which means this whole debate is far from over.
Now it's just getting started.
Yeah, and it's a debate that's going to have a huge impact on all of us.
Without a doubt.
So, I mean, what does all this mean for you?
Well, for me,
Yeah.
it really highlights how complex this issue is.
Right.
And how far-reaching the consequences could be. It's not just about immigration. It's about economic, social justice, the fabric of our communities.
I agree. And I think the biggest thing to remember
Yeah.
is that we're talking about real people here.
Millions of them.
Millions whose lives are hanging in the balance.
Exactly. And we have to approach this with some humanity, some understanding.
Absolutely.
Recognize that there are no easy answers.
I feel like we've just dipped our toes in the water here.
Yeah.
But it's already clear that mass deportation,
Right.
it's like opening Pandora's box.
Absolutely.
So much could go wrong, the economic fallout, the social upheaval, just the logistics of it all.
Right.
It makes you wonder, is it even possible?
I think that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can it actually be done
Right.
without creating more problems than it solves?
Exactly.
The article brings up some pretty strong arguments against it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it shows that the Trump administration,
Right.
they seem determined to move forward no matter what.
It's almost like watching a car heading for a cliff.
Right. You want to yell, stop. But is anyone even listening?
Yeah, it's that feeling of helplessness.
And I think that's where our listeners come in.
Absolutely.
You know, this deep dive has given you a glimpse into how complicated this is.
Right.
The potential ripple effects
Yeah.
that could touch all of us.
It's not an isolated issue.
No, it's not. And it's not just about politics either.
No.
It's about people, communities, the future we want to build.
And that future is shaped by the choices we make right now.
Exactly.
Right.
So after hearing all of this, what do you think?
Yeah.
Is mass deportation the right way to go?
Right.
Is there a better path forward?
That's the question.
Because this isn't just some theoretical debate.
No.
This is real life
Real people's lives.
with very real consequences.
And those consequences could have an impact for generations to come.
It's a powerful thought, you know? History doesn't just happen.
We make it.
We make it with the choices we make today.
Exactly.
That's a great point to leave our listeners with.
I think so. This deep dive has given you a lot to think about.
Yeah.
But the conversation doesn't end here.
It doesn't stop here.
Keep asking questions, stay informed, and most importantly, use your voice
Right.
to shape the future you want to see.
Your voice matters.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring.
See you next time.